Hi, this is Marianne Kay from My Mystic Gems, and I create magical items for everyday life. My handcrafted items include wire-wrapped crystals and gemstones, beautiful bullets, which is part of my Peace project, steampunk jewelry and cosplay accessories, and retro and vintage items. I can do custom designs for birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, weddings, and costume affairs. Please visit my website at mymysticgems.com and also my Etsy website at mymysticgems.etsy.com.
Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network's YouTube channel. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can find us on Facebook and stay up to date on our Facebook group, or find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcasts can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Google Podcast, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at conciousradionetwork.com for podcasts, hosts, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now. Enjoy the community. Subscribe today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be on this spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's weekly podcast series, The Seance. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Meckes. If this is your first time tuning in, please click subscribe, like, follow, comment, share, and also follow wherever you listen to your podcasts. Today, how to hack your development. Today's guest has a mission in life, and that to talk to people about what inspires them and get them to follow their dreams. To do this, he hosts a podcast called Personal Development Hacks. Here he talks to his guests about what their dreams are, and he discusses their mindset and how to focus on achieving their goals rather than just setting them. Let's welcome to the show today, Todd Baker. Welcome. I'd say welcome back, and that is the truth. But
that is true. But yeah, we're both here right now, so glad to be here. Thank you for having me on.
You are very, very welcome. So let's jump into this. How do we hack our development, and how did you start this?
So this started basically on my journey. Um, this was about 7, 8 years ago. I would, like most people, I woke up on January 1st, looked in the mirror, thought, I don't like that, decided I need to lose weight. My resolution that year lasted all of 3 days because day four, I live in Denver. It was snowing, cold. I didn't go for a walk. And
Mm,
instead of just kind of throwing my hands up, like I started thinking about why it was so easy to give up and why I let something like, a little bit of cold and some snow like stop me from something that was important to me. And I started asking myself why, and I kept digging and digging and digging. And what it boiled down to was my motivation was fleeting that day because of the snowflakes in the air, but my true inspiration and that fire that drove me and why it was truly important is my kids. They're
yeah.
18 and 16 now. They were, I don't know, 11 and 9 or something like that back then. And I didn't want to be the dad that couldn't participate in stuff with them. I didn't want to be the dad that, they would come to me and say, hey, we want to go camping. And I'd give them money for whatever and be like, yeah, you guys will go have fun because I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to be the dad that was like, when they came to me and said, hey, let's go camping, I would be like, okay, let's get in the truck, let's go. Um, and so that really, it became my true inspiration. And I talked to both of my kids about what I was doing, why I was doing it, why it was important to me, and especially their involvement in it. And from there, it's grown into what it is now, which is, I'm not the only one that went through this or goes through this or um, anything. So it's really about helping other people get out of motivation, get out of short term, short time type of goals, and really start thinking about your lifetime
Mm,
and what inspires you. And it can be an emotional process because you're going to start asking yourself why things are important. And like every fifth grade elementary teacher tells you, you got to ask why 7 times before you get to the right answer. And so it's going to require some digging and some figuring out like what is actually at the core of why it was so easy for me to say what the goal was, but this is why it's actually important to me. Because while motivation is fleeting and it can lack on certain days, your inspiration, that core driver, it never leaves. And
yeah.
so those days where it's snowing, and my perfect example is 3 weeks after I started, you know, I was downstairs cooking breakfast. My daughter comes down. It's snowing again. And she looks outside. She looks at me and she goes, Dad, are you going to go on your walk today? And I said, well, I'm going to see what the weather does. But yeah, I'll go today. And without even hesitating, she just looked me dead in the eye and goes, you mean now? And I was like, I do. Yep. And, ate some eggs real quick and put my stuff on and got out the door. So um, it that to me told me that not only was it important to me that I was living a new life and creating a new version of myself, but it was important to them that I be there to be able to participate with them and join them in all of the stuff that they got going on. So
Yeah.
um,
It's
that's
always good to have the help of children because they can see the truth in everything.
yeah. There's no filter.
Yeah.
It's just you know you say, yes, I will, and they think, well, now is as good a time as any. And and hey, that day I scarfed down some eggs and dressed up and walked out the door and got home. And she's like, "Okay, Dad, let's go to school." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, that's going to take a little bit longer. I got to drive through the snow now, which is different than walking through the snow." But
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Now there's a term that's been heavily used a lot lately, in just about everything, in politics, in business, in everything. And it's sustainability. We have these goals, and we want to set these long term. We want to look at the long term, but then we get hit with the sustainability. Is that something that we should worry about, or just go with it?
Every human on Earth has basically two superpowers that most people aren't aware of, and they're very simple. It's consistency and dedication. And the most successful people in the world, that's what they have, is they're consistent in their efforts, what they're doing, what they're driving for, and they're dedicated to their art, their craft, whatever it is. And people, as I talk about this, like, one of the differences is, they'll say, well, when you set a goal, it should be a SMART goal, right? It should, with whatever that stands for and stuff. And I'm like, no, it shouldn't. I want your goal to do two things. It should last you for your lifetime, and it should have a profound positive effect on your life. And the steps that you're going to take. So just dream whatever that ultimate goal is. It could take you 20 years to get there. That's fine. But that's your ultimate goal. The how, the steps in the process that you're taking along the way until you get to that, those can be your smaller, your more incremental, this will get done in the next 6 months. This will get done the next year. So that's where you can do the smaller goals, but they're all leading to your bigger lifetime, whatever goal it is. The classic example is someone, comes to within my course, and they're like, well, I want to lose 15 pounds. I'm like, well, here's the thing. You either change your mindset to a lifetime, or let's just write your resolution for next year. And instead of losing 15 pounds, just write down 25, because that's what's going to happen. So instead of looking at it as, I want to lose 15 pounds, look at it as, I want to get and stay fit, because the weight loss comes with it. But if your dedication is, every day I'm making progress towards getting more fit, and a million people have a million different ideas of what that actually means to them. Your goals are personal. They're personal to you. They're personal to me, and they're supposed to be that way, right? But whatever that is, as long as you're making daily progress, because you're focused on the next 20, 30 years of your life, or 40 or more, or whatever it is, that becomes your sustainability, because that goal is always out in front of you. Whereas, like, let's say you are successful with the resolution, you do lose 15 pounds. My next question is, okay, what's next? Like, is it to keep it off? Is it to lose more? Or is it like, what goes from there? Or, because most people, they'll set a resolution for something like that. They'll lose it. They'll celebrate. And then they'll spend the rest of the year gaining it back.
Yeah.
Because it was a short-term goal.
Yep. And that's where the sustainability comes in. They didn't sustain what
Right.
they're, after the goal was met, it's like, okay, now let's sustain that goal. Let's keep it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where, that's where, instead of the losing weight, you look at it as a get and stay fit, because it's just a different way of phrasing basically the same thing. But every day of your life, you can focus on getting fit. Not every day of your life can you focus on losing 15 pounds. If you did, we'd all be ants at this point, just crawling around. So.
Yeah. Now, it seems like, especially the New Year's resolutions, so many people make them. So, and a lot of them are, I've heard a lot, and some of them are a little bit unrealistic, and some are really massive. Quit smoking, and go back to school, get a degree. And a lot of people out there just don't. What what has been the most, with your experience and from others' experience from some of your clients, what has been that main factor of them not maintaining that and just quitting?
So I read like three of Stephen Pressfield's book, and he talks about his stances as from a writer, but the lesson goes for everyone. As soon as you start a new something, be it quitting smoking or be it, whatever that goal is, when you start it, that's your first adversary and consistent adversary is always resistance. And it's society telling you that you don't want to do this, or it's peer pressure and they're trying to drag you down, or you just look at it, you're like, well, life got in the way. And my response to that always is, you probably didn't do a good enough job drilling down to your why. Because if you found your true why, like, because people will say, I want to quit smoking, but I think like smoking is kind of a symptom, but it's not the root cause.
Mm.
And if you drill down to it, like, why is it important that you quit smoking? And okay, well, I don't want to be the only one that goes outside. Okay, why is that important to you? And you start getting into it, and all of a sudden, like, your why doesn't necessarily have to align perfectly with what your goal is, but it could be your family, it could be your friends, it could be, I don't want to live like, my dad smoked until he was X years old, and I don't want that life, whatever it is. But anytime that you're faced with that kind of that obstacle, that you're like, I can either quit or I can find a way around this. It's not a different. The choice isn't between hard and easy. Hard being keep going, and easy being just to revert. The choice is actually between hard and hard. It's hard to keep going, and it's probably, I would argue, actually harder still for you to give up, because not only do you now give up, now it's going to get worse, because now you're faced with the fact that you had been making progress, and now you're back to where you started, and all that stuff that you did was for naught, and now it starts to downward spiral. So it's probably the program that I offer is very simple, but it's not easy, right? Like, you're going to do work anytime you're going to go for a goal. But the why is probably the most difficult one, because where the why is born kind of in your brain, it doesn't translate well into words.
Yeah.
So you have to really think about, like, asking yourself that question and coming up with the right reasons. And like I said, it can be an emotional journey, because you're probably going to start thinking about family, friends, history of this, or a tragic event or something that is wanting you to change the trajectory of your life. So anytime you face that, it's, if you do quit, it's because you hadn't found your true inspiration yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I notice too, when it comes to bad habits, especially smoking. I'm an ex-smoker, and I would replace them with good habits, and it worked. And yes,
Yeah.
it did take some intervention, quite a bit of intervention, medicinal intervention, and holistic medicinal. So
Yes.
and I think I touched about that on the show, but now that also begs the question, and also segues into the journey. It is a journey,
It
and
is.
I think people also, one of the factors of quitting a particular goal or just dropping out is they don't enjoy the journey, or they don't see the journey as a blessing.
Right. Yeah.
So,
No, you're absolutely right. And like, I won't sugarcoat it. Like, anytime you're starting something new, that is really going to, like I said, change the trajectory of your life, it's not going to be fun, probably for a good couple months,
Yeah.
because it's new.